recording so they can watch it later. Okay, so I wanted to put this event here real quick just to give another update, touch base of what is going on. This obviously the development has been focused around, well, at least tentatively now called Silmeril 2, Sil 2. It's a pretty much a complete rewrite from ground up. So I've been working on it for quite some time, probably around the December timeframe I started the development. And you can, let me see if I can show you, for those that don't know, where you can grab, I think I can do this. So for those that want to try, you can go to the Danger Keep Out V2. That's what this is going to be talking about. I uploaded some files today, doing some testing, added some features. I'll go over that. But for those that aren't aware, it does not replace Sil 1. You're still going to run Sil 1, but this is more of, you run Sil 2 in tandem. There are some features being added, but it's not there yet. So I'm going to jump back here. There's a section to report any bugs or issues. There we go, back into the chat. All right. So if you guys, this is a stage, I don't know, it's kind of weird on Discord, but if you want to talk, you can request to talk. There's a option in there. You raise your hand, basically, I'll let you talk. Also, if you want to do that, there's the chat, right? So you can post the questions in chat. I'll try to keep on those as we go through. But all right, so I did make a video, I suppose a week or two ago, on one of the big technical things, and that's why Sil 2 seems to be going really slow, is because I'm tackling all the technical difficulties, or technical challenge, I guess you could say. Stuff that Sil 1 couldn't do. I'm developing it early in on Sil 2 so that I don't have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And one of those, like I showcased on one of my videos, was nav meshes and kind of how that all works and stuff. So I haven't did a tremendous amount of testing on it. Seems pretty good. I think there are some people that are testing it. By all means, do some stress tests on it. But that was one piece, right? So obviously you have to have all the background information, collected and parsed appropriately for Sil 2 to make all those kind of decisions and movements. So that's a big technical piece. I kind of got that shelved for now because I know how to do it. It navigates. So that's all I wanted to do there. Because if you think about it, sure, following behind somebody isn't, super exciting, but really it kind of plays more into, let's just call it like Sil 1, what I call combat positional, or during an actual engagement. That's why I really wanted the navigation meshes, is so when you're fighting an enemy, it could actually just pick the best spot versus just trying to be like, oh, I'm facing this angle, so now I'm going to run 12 yalms away. No, it can actually, behave a little bit better and not run into a wall or whatever. It can actually, you can actually get your white mage away from the enemy at 20 some odd yalms. And, so there's a lot more decision making that I can do now that I got meshes into Sil 2. There is a thread in the Sil 2 section if you do want to try them out. It's a big zip file. Karsten, one of the rays, he went through, there's a whole process, a whole thread on how to generate the meshes. So if you do have problems or you get stuck, you can play with them a little bit. But first off, if you are playing with it and you do get stuck, record it down, let us know, and then we'll look at it. I don't really want to spend too much time on the navigation piece of it because I feel a lot of that was already covered. And then there's a video where I go out kind of explaining how to make them. It ended up being a lot quicker than I thought, right? So Carsten just pretty much did them all in a day. I don't know. He was drinking coffee and was going at it. But it's a big file, right? Because the way I had him generate the baseline was a very accurate, right? I could make a really sloppy mesh and it'd be very small size because it has to do with the amount of polygons and voxels and how geometry is. But I wanted, what's the point of doing something halfway, right? So a lot of those meshes out there are very, very accurate and kind of overkill for a lot of the stuff. So I don't anticipate a ton of issues because the file sizes are pretty large, and but if there is, report it in the channel or whatever. Okay, so oh, interesting. I don't know how that got in there. Yeah, so tether spelled wrong. But that's all I kind of want to talk about movement for right now. What I did this last week was basically work on, I'll just call it like the action engine, like processing, queuing, actions, priorities, stuff like that. So I revamped all that because the first thing I bit off and I got an initial stab is queuing, right? So pretty straightforward, but it does have quite a bit of math and calculations that you have to do. So I guess I'll fire up the Sil 2 here, my debugger, get it to load up. Yes, you do. So I'll demo that real quick, just to make sure you guys can see Sil 2 screen, right? Since I'm sharing screen out a window, right? Okay. All right. So real quick, like I said, I don't know how many people, I'm going to try to go over some stuff real quick on 2. I don't know how many people that played with it, but the big concept here is this lock button, right? You'll get thrown off right away because it's very resizable. So this is, I guess you could say, kind of like your mini mode, right? You can turn them all off, all your main controls here, but that doesn't help you. You can have different geometries real quick. So obviously if you have multiple tunes, you can have a ton of them, but the idea, that's what the lock button. So the lock button not only changes the geometry of actual Sil, but it remembers the location. So as an example, I'm going to just lock it here, right? Because every time you fire up the, Sil 2, you don't want to have to keep repositioning. So I just shut it down. My debugger's firing up, and it popped up back where it last saved. That's what that lock does. It stops you from resizing, right? And it remembers the location. So in this particular instance, I'm just going to lock it here, right? So now it's there. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to have my white mage. I want to talk a little bit about profiles and savings. So it's going to be quite a bit different from the process. And I gave some thought about how to make kind of profile generation and just getting to do stuff much faster and much easier. That's a big goal in Sil 2. So right now, I'm going to work on Yavanna here. I'm going to hit the config, move that back over the screen. So this is the config screen, I guess. It's very similar, right? Same icons. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here, but there's quite a bit of changes too. So just some orientation stuff. So up top, same thing. You can navigate through characters. Now let me go back to her. Through the arrow buttons here. You got your open, you got your save, you got lock. I'm going to talk about the lock a little bit more. And then you got your copy, paste, and reset. Okay, so now each one of these settings, you have that feature. Like if people are familiar with the triggers, one of the big asks of Sil was, hey, can I just copy settings because I don't want to keep entering the same data, especially like fighting and stuff, you know, entering all the enemies. So that's kind of already done. So as an example, let's just say I'm just going to put a couple things over here. I don't have a lot, right? Because I'm still adding stuff as I go. Right now, just Kira and Kiraga are done, right? But, you know, same basic stuff on the priority window. Nothing changed there. But now, so I can hit the copy button. I just hit the copy. But like, say if I want to go to, you know, my Bard or whatever, I should just be able to paste it. And it remembers the order. And remember, this also turns on, you know, the different features too. So like in this instance, when I turn that on from the priority screen, or I turn it off, you know, it's 1 for 1. Or if I turn it on here, it's going to add it. So that's kind of they're tied together like they were before. So, and then of course I think the reset will just reset it. So pretty straightforward. Some cool things I like. One of the things was, for instance, you know, everybody had their profile that was listed up here. For instance, like you would load a file. Oh, you only hear music? Wait, can you guys still hear me? Okay, cool. Interesting. I'm not sure what's going on there, Wolfwood. I might want to exit. All right. The music I'm playing isn't too loud, right? I can always turn that down if it is too loud. Just wanted to kind of be like a little background, so okay. All right, so the lock, or no, I'm going to talk about profile names. That's what I'm going to do here. So normally, you know, you load up a profile and it would say the relative directory. It'd be like settings / you know, the player's name, right? You know, main job _ sub job name, or so that's okay. But sometimes maybe you have like you want to have more descriptions. Like let's just say like on go. Key item 1, right? So this is a profile name. You can now name your profiles so that you know exactly what you're loaded. So if I look up top, I can see it automatically obviously updated to, you know, Ongo V1. Now down here, there's no file loaded because I'm just creating this one. But this is where you show your relative load. The other piece is I want to talk about is a lock mechanism. So no sound, no video. Okay. So if I hit the lock button, since I have not saved this profile, it's going to prompt me to save it. So when I save it, I'm going to... let's not do that. I actually want to not overwrite that one, just because I was doing some testing for the keyring stuff. So in this particular case, I saved this file. You can see where it's saved. That's the relative location, I guess. So when I lock it, the save button goes away. So the idea is, and like I said, it's a lot of this stuff is going through, playing with it, seeing all these different options, see what doesn't work, right? So I got to make a mental note here, because I did change the name, and so my display name shouldn't be that. It's missing a 2, so I want to make a note here. See, I find bugs just working with it, which is what I'm kind of asking a lot of you guys, just to kind of mess around with it. It's not really going to take over Sil 1 yet, but it's hopefully by the time it gets to that point, it'll be pretty well flushed out. So name change on the file. All right, wrote a note down for myself to fix that. Okay, so the idea is you have a profile that you don't want to edit. Like say for instance, if I have an Odyssey, but I want to make a temporary change, but I want I want to acknowledge that I'm going to overwrite something. I won't be able to overwrite something when it's locked. So like if it's locked, I can't obviously save it. And if I do the save all, which is what these are up here, these are like the save alls and load alls, it will not save this one because it's locked. So as an example, let me go ahead and just load someone else's profile that's not locked. So I loaded this random profile, Corn in here, right? It's unlocked, right? So I can edit and save it. But I should be able to, let's see if I did this right. So this is the file I made. If I load this one, you can see it's loaded locked. So I can edit it, right? I can change things and do things, but I can't save it, right? If I do hit the save button, I'm not going to accidentally overwrite my old profile. I don't know if anyone's have done that before, but I have. It's a little bit frustrating, and hopefully you have some revision control. But that's what the lock feature does. Of course, if you want to actually update it, you just hit the unlock and then save it again. Since I already loaded this file, the lock button just saved it back immediately because it knew where it loaded that file from. Okay, so that's the lock stuff to prevent overwriting crap. And of course, let's just go to the healing side. Just show you the copy features. Toggle some crap in here. All right, so I'm gonna copy a setting, and then I'm just gonna go over to, like, this is my bard. I can paste it. You can see now it took over all the settings from the previous one. Now the copy machine is only applicable to, like, I'm gonna have it just like each one of these have their own one, right? So you can copy movement, combat, healing. You won't be able to copy like each sheet within here, I suppose, I guess you could say, or subcategory. But it should make profile generations quite a bit faster. Okay. The other thing with Sil 2 is, one of the things is, like I mentioned, is trying to get stuff up fast and, not spending as much time on profiles. One of them is there'll be a lot of, like, I'll just abuse the shit out of toggle switches. And what that'll do is sometimes when you're looking Sil 1, it shows you everything all the time. And 80% of the time, you don't need all the bells and whistles. You just need someone to, like, some fairly basic settings. Because of that, that's why you turn all these features off and on, and then you'll be able to see. For instance, like, I know there's no healing set because, nothing's enabled up here, right? So if I want cure on, it's very straightforward. I have cure enabled. I don't have Curaga. I don't have Cura. I don't have blue magic. I have nothing else enabled because I am only shown cure. Within cure, obviously, enables. So this is your checkboxes, right? I turn all those features on. Get that. But then you're like, well, Sunaku's over there is asking me, can it calculate cure potency? Well, that's the idea. Is like, this is your run-of-the-mill, out-of-the-box, no crazy, like, tailoring. But if you want to go to advanced, there's additional parameters you can do. Two things. One, you can manually input your values here. These are what they defaulted to, by the way. If you want to input your character's data, that's where you input your mind, vitality, healing, skill, potency, blah, blah, and then you hit the update button. So in this particular case, you can see all these values changed because it calculated that. Now, one of the caveats is, okay, great, these are my static data, but then you have dynamic things like, for instance, your light bonus, which is why this is an option. So now it's going to calculate. And there's a note here that says, all right, these things are calculated, obviously based off your environment. You can, Scholar can obviously force some of this stuff, but, and then there's one more too, right? So iridescence, if you have the staff, if you're using staff, you can turn that on. That'll boost you up a couple. Screams like fangirl for the call out. Oh. But yeah, so, sometimes when you're getting in here, like, I don't need anything kind of crazy, but you can dive down, right? But sometimes it's like, I just want to troubleshoot and why something isn't working, right? I can't get some basic feature to work. It's not doing what, and this is going to be more applicable to things like fighting and so forth. Right now, it's like, okay, curing, it's not superly complicated. You could figure this out in one screen. The idea, and these are themes, right? So that's why it takes a lot of time, because these are all templated type stuff. So now it's like, okay, shit's not working. You literally turn off your advanced. Okay, I'll have to also add the iridescence to it. But it takes care and just wipes all that stuff up. And then the actual behind the code says, all right, forget about all that junk. I'm going to like use my basic settings. So I'm going to write that bug down too. So iridescence was not supposed to be there. It's a simple binding thing. Okay. So like I said, it's supposed to just be super quick. You know, ideally you kind of come through, oh, Kiraga, I want to go here. Yep, turn it all on. And then you're done, right? But if you want to be high speed, boom. Because these are what I considered, at least when I looked at my paltry white mage or whatever, these are, you know, I guess pretty decent out of the box. They'll be pretty close. But you don't have to apply it. When you turn this off, it doesn't use those values. It uses, quote, the default values. So that's kind of the whole theme of how I'm going to be applying settings, is that you have to enable each section. They won't be on by default. Each section is going to have I'll say just a basic or an advanced option to get you up to speed pretty quick. Prevent you from hurting yourself, like cure, promote, and some of the other stuff can get a little bit more convoluted. Oh, I didn't talk about the real complicated stuff, right? So this is all pretty straightforward. Then you got like, then you're like, I want my paladin to have priority curing, or I want to have, you know, some other things going on. So that's what targeting does. Targeting will need a lot of testing because there's a lot of complicated logic in here. So this is where you define whether or not you only cure party, alliance, and then you have whitelists. So like, for instance, maybe now, because like you weren't able to necessarily do that very easily, I don't think, in Sil 1, where you could be like, maybe I only want my white mage to cure my you know, paladin or rune fencer, and then my geomancer will cure, you know, someone else, whatever. So now you have these options, right? You can alliance cure, alliance off. Players, okay, so players is what you would be kind of used to, I suppose, on the Sil 1, where you can come do here and it's all the basic stuff, and you get this priority list. Okay. One of the things I've added to is what I call roles. Still have to work on that. Now there's a caveat to it. Roles are job-based stuff. I'm kind of feeling it out on curing, but it's going to be something similar, because there's been a lot of asks like, well, can I just have my red mage automatically haste, you know, or refresh my paladin and haste, you know, like there's a lot of these type of things that you're like, you want that function based off the job. So that's what I'm going to call roles. So in this particular scenario, the role feature is very similar, right? You can come over here and say like, you know, and this is a priority too. So just because they're not in here doesn't mean that they won't be cured. They just bubble up. Yeah, I know that's I think is monstrosity. I don't know if you can cure. I just like I left that in there. I think you can cure. I don't know. Never did monstrosity, but I can always blast it out too. So okay, for instance, if I want my rune fencer and paladin to be here, right? They'll have priority. But if I only want my red mage or my bard, you know, my bard, I want to just focus target, I can just change it over to a whitelist, right? And now this particular character will only cure these two people. That's kind of the intent, right? So, you know, in this particular case, I don't need the players because now I'm going to use a role. So anyone that's a paladin, anyone that's a rune fencer in my party, or now in my alliance, I will cure them. Okay. So the idea is to do a lot of this configuration pretty quickly. That's like I said, there's a lot of options here, a lot of testing, but I think I just did it a couple days ago, so I didn't do a lot of testing on this. I only ran a couple ambuscades, and I'll run an ambuscade where only Sil 2 is curing, because I got to test it, make sure it's doing what it's supposed to. So what this does also is, remember high priority, this also gets a different priority threshold. So for instance, my paladin now will have a threshold of 85% to cure, right? So maybe I don't want 85, whatever, but like that's the idea. Now I can have two different thresholds for two different players, and you don't have to have it by name now either, right? So it's like, oh shit, now I swap my paladin out with my B team paladin. You don't need new profiles. I'd rather like okay. So yeah, that's kind of the idea behind roll, and it's making it show on curing early, but obviously other things like enhancing are going to be a big one, or geomancy. And I've thought about how the profile stuff will happen later. Cure promote, I got to make some exclamation. This one I think is a little more straightforward. When I was doing the code, I thought about it. So basically, like for instance, real high level, I try to go over quick. Say your paladin is at 75% hit point, and your next person down is at 30, or let's just do 20% hit point, right? So 75 and 20%. So there's a 50%. Well, and I'm going to only deals with HPP, hit point percentages. So Paladin 75, which meets the threshold. So he's curing, right? He's going to be cured because he's below the 66 threshold percent, 75%. And the other one is, what did I say? 30, 20? I don't remember. Let's just do 30%. So there's a 40% delta, right, between the two. So because there's a 40% delta, it's larger than the promote rate of 25%. So it's going to cure the bard over your paladin, even though you say, no, paladin is priority. But that's what this is. This is the delta. You can think of this as the percent difference from the next target. Of course, that's how I want to program. I haven't tested a whole ton of this shit yet because there's so much to test on this stuff. But that's the idea. So, but if I have a paladin at 75% and I have a bard at 65%, it's not going to cure the bard, right? Even though it's lower, it's because now you can bump this all the way up. So I don't know. I just set it to 50. I guess I could go higher too. But now the next person down. So if the paladin is at 75%, the bard, or say for instance, has to be below 25% hit point in order to cure the bard first, because it has to be over 50% difference between the two HPPs. So hopefully that makes a little bit sense, but that's how I'm going to do promote rate versus priority, because you also don't want to stick rigidly to the priority list and you're like, well, everyone's dying because it's just trying to cure my paladin, which is at 60%, right? You want to be able to figure out when to give up and actually provide support for the other party members. That's what the promote rate is. That's enough on targeting, I guess. So I'm going to add resting. Resting's another common ask, I could say. All this stuff I think is pretty much, there's not, I guess there's a little bit on advanced, like stuff like this, like, oh, you don't normally need to worry about stuff, but basically, whether you're casting the raises, maybe you only want to send out a rise, stuff like that. So raises aren't done yet. The only two things of actionable things right now, I should say, is the tether, so movement, and then the two types of curing, which is cure and curaga. I just did curaga like a few minutes ago. The resting is highly asked for all the time. Yeah, that's, so backing up a little bit. Sil 2, in addition to all the other stuff that it can do, one of the big things is more, I guess you could say, cross-client. So private servers, it's a little bit easier to support on private servers. It also is Ashita and Windows compatible. In fact, I'm running one of my goons over here is on Ashita. So basically same thing, right? There's my config window. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can fit it all in. Where's John at? Yep, here we go. So this is a private server running Ashita. And just as example, what I'm going to do is turn John on. And I'm going to just task here. I think he's in GM mode. Yep, he's got fast cast. But basically here, you can see like, okay, it's rock and rolling on Ashita here too. So basically, since I did 100%, he's just going to spam. But this is how I kind of would test a lot of the speed and the what I call the action engine. I think it's pretty good. Like I'll stress test it. Like this is with chain spell active, right? So, you know, I tested different ones, and just to. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of the private server on there, but if I take off chain spell, let me turn them all on. Otherwise, he's a slow with no fast cast gear. But now he's got to roll through his cast because it's pretty slow. But, you know, it's pretty quick. Like, it's not... It doesn't have the you're unable to cast spell, you know, because of how I'm doing, you know, a lot of different things. So behind the hood type of deal with this. So anyway, that's Ashita. Turn the cure, and like I said, it's really quick because, like I said, everything's a toggle. So, oh, you want to turn cures off? Boom, you know, or hey, I want Curaga. Turn Curaga. I think he learned those spells. I don't know if he knows those spells. I don't know. Never tried it before. Oh, I know why. You know why? Not enough targets. But, you know, that's where, like, sometimes, you know, having admin or not. Anyway. That's Ashita. Ashita and Windower are literally always in parallel. So Windower is not going to get something before Ashita. Ashita doesn't get anything before Windower. It's just because literally most of Ashita is done anyway. And the way Sil works is the hard part was just getting everything into Sil. I just basically send out an action packet. Well, kind of. I build the action packet. And so there's really no difference. All the technical stuff is kind of done. So anyway, that's a Ashita piece of it. Let me go back to someone on the Windower side. So turn him off. One of the things too is I'm going to make it as an option. I know a lot of people really like to leave things on when they zone, but so I guess bad habit. So let's see if I can use my toggle. Did I leave it? Yeah. So I'm going to try to use some of the stuff. I'm going to run real ambuscade. Actually, I want to take a minute here. Does anyone have questions or requests or something you want some further clarification on before I kind of show and load some of the curious stuff? Because that's kind of what this is to make sure we get people to try to test it. I think it's decent. I'm going to stress test. I'll show you. Level cap content. No. I don't. You're talking about like on the gear, like, because your stats. So okay, yeah, all right. So he's asking about the healing, and then the stats, right here. You could basically have it grab it, but that's not straightforward, because remember your gear swap, you have to swap in to your cure gear and then grab and snapshot. Doing older bank and spells are not. Oh, the spells, yeah, it knows, right? It's so you leave a cure 6 on, and for instance, a scholar doesn't have cure 6. It doesn't. It won't matter. It knows, just like Sil 1. You can't enable something that will, at least that you shouldn't be able to enable something that will break it or stop it, or it won't try to do an action it can't do. Put it that way, because I know what spells you have available. I know you had issue in Vanabout. What was the issue? I suppose. For your cap. Was it cure related, or what was it related to? It went down. It would not down rank Dia. Are you talking about a combat script or enfeebling? So combat script is not smart, so it won't. Enfeebling, it probably just didn't cast it at all. Is that correct? It just didn't. It just like, oh, you don't get Dia. Is that what it did? So it did try to cast a Dia 2. Okay, I don't know. I have to look at enfeebling. Most of the stuff, that's the other thing too. Like, all this stuff is pretty much a complete rewrite. I look at it. I know what to do. I can peek at some of the old code and be like, oh, that's a decent section. I'll just kind of massage it or make it a little bit better. So a lot of what you see on 2 is a lot better when it comes to logic and stuff. So, like you mentioned about enfeebling. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that section did not get a whole lot of love. It was just get it out the door. So now when I'm going through, I can find all these things and have the luxury of taking some more time and doing it without having to mess up the production, I guess you could say. I have the production, which is Sil 1. Sil 2 is kind of like the pie in the sky. I can do whatever I want here, not play. No one's going to gripe about some damn setting changes all the time. Oh, you blew up my setting profile because you added Kiraga or something like that. It's like, no. Sil 2, we're going to run it through the meat grinder for a while. We're going to get it all dialed up. And then, try to find all these bugs. And that way, when you do the cutover, you don't have all these setting profiles that keep changing and stuff. Will they be compatible? Absolutely not. No. And the reason is things of how I've done the code and how I've done the settings. So I hinted on that in one of my videos, but every setting you see here is settable by the command line. So as an example, I'm going to have to remember this off the top let me put that. I'm going to pin that so I don't keep losing it. All right. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to pin it. Okay. Raise section. Oh, raise isn't fully completed, but what do you need? Let's go to Gaimon here. So I would personally let me let me understand this. I got to think about this. So I would personally like Majesty to be under cure instead of, or in addition to job abilities, so that Paladin only cures with Majesty on. Does it not do that already? What I'll probably do is, so okay, Paladin can only use cure, right? So we're looking here. That would fall under what I consider. Okay, yeah, I'm tracking. I'm gonna make a note of that. So Paladin, Majesty. All right. So here's what I'm thinking. So obviously that's not applicable to everybody. So it's going to be in the advanced option. Light bonuses. So this only pops under, of course. But what I'll probably do is add Majesty, or like I'll probably do a Majesty toggle here. So if it tries to cast a cure, it'll check that you're a Paladin and say, hey, you are trying to cast a cure spell on Paladin and you don't have the buff for Majesty. Apply before you cure. Alright, so I prefer it in abilities because that's what it is. Majesty is cure, probably confuse people. Yeah, that's kind of how I did it, was made sure my job ability is above a cure, but then it gets frustrating, right? Because now also Flash is a job ability in how old Sil 1 was done. And then you're like, well, I don't want to Flash, I want to make sure my Majesty, because then in about 5 seconds I get nuke bombed or something. So I can understand both sides of it. But what I can do here, well, shit, let's just... Oh, why I got you here? Let me go and let's see. We're in cure. I'm gonna go fire up. Put that over there. Let's go fix that. What happens? Going to not advance toggle button. So if I call this one, I'll just call this Majesty. Majesty. So what if I did something like that? So that if I came in here, well, I gotta unbind those other toggles. Let's see here. I'll change that to Majesty. Alright, so if I had force match, okay, so how, so anyway, so that's what I'm saying, and of course, I'm kind of mid-stride here, but essentially what'll happen is let me fix that issue, because that's kind of pisses me off on that too, so, oh, I swapped the wrong one. So iridescence is, I'm just going to change it to advanced. All right. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, obviously, most people don't need to worry about it, but that is an option. Then it'll do the check. So Are we all okay with something like that? So that way it, the enable would be under the job ability section, right? Because you want to maintain it. You can up it a long time. So I think it's going to be under your job ability section, but sometimes it drops off and the Paladin's too busy. Say for instance, too busy curing because you have curing higher than the job ability. At that point in time, though, if you're going to force it like this, it'll say, all right, I'm going to cure. I know my job ability is lower priority, but I'm going to pop my job, that one job ability. I don't think, did I run out of space? Damn it. Yeah, I ran out of space. Not quite enough. Let's see if I can get another 5. 20. So that was 10. So, whoops. So 70. Okay. All right. Force Majesty. All right, I can see that. So I'll code that blurb in. Shouldn't be too bad or anything like that. Before I move on, any other things? Like I said, a lot of this stuff is much easier on 2 to do because I'm not. The structure is a lot different. Oh my god. My question about. Oh yeah, you got celery. So you want to know about raising, and you want to advance, and so you're going to probably add the scholar ability. Celerity or whatever. Is that recast speed? Half. It's like half MP and like half recast or something on the scholars. Is that right? Okay. All right. Yeah, I can add that. Let's go back and take care of the raise real quick. I'll just toss it in while we're talking. That way I'm guarantee. Let's see. That's under the advanced. With the toggle switch. Combat check, don't need. Here we go. Raise Alliance. So, what are we going to call this one? Did you even spell that right? Is it even? I don't think that's spelled that right. I don't think that's spelled right. I have a damn wiki. Alright, there we go. Alright, is that good enough? Let me get this out of my way. Alright. Okay, alright, got that done. Alright. I need to actually load a config, so I can actually demo real quick here. Havana, I'm going to load a profile. Let's do the first one. So only 2 features, same thing apply. I thought a little bit about Kiraga Cure thing. You know how if you get this above, it creates havoc. But I want to be able to. I want to be able to set Kiraga because there are sometimes maybe you want to do Kiraga, but some other action like a Geomancer might want to do his bubbles next and then Cure as a lower tier. So I'm going to leave it this way. I think it's just going to have to be a point of contention yet. But for now, I just got the two curing features enabled. I loaded the file. You can see the file that I had saved. I called it test curing file. You can see up here it loaded the test curing file. So that's kind of the idea behind the profile naming. And then this is where it loaded from. Any chance we could get a top? Yeah, that's actually a decent. So let's see here. I'll just do 2 carrots up. I think I can find an icon for that. So move to top. Priority. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to move that to the side. I think I have... Yeah, I have tether on yet. All right. Oh, I did a toggle, didn't I? Yeah. White mage must have been... Whoops. I did something. What the hell? Oh, print screen. Why isn't my white mage doing it? Do I have something enabled? Oh, that's why. I matched the key. Okay. Oh yeah, I was gonna actually real quick explain how to set these. I've never did this before on all this shit, but I'm gonna give it a shot. See if I can figure some of this out. So, all right, let's turn all this off. So, if I wanted to, and think about this as like combat, or not combat scripts, but like windower scripts or macros, so that you don't have to swap profile entirely. Say, for instance, you had a combat script that you want to enable or disable, and that's all. You didn't need to like load all new profiles or do anything. You just want to enable or disable a combat script because you're playing that character, and you could just simply make a in-game macro to turn that one setting off the profile or toggle it. So, like I said, I'm gonna have to remember the commands here. Okay, so the way that this works is there's a setting file. There's an XML setting file. If you want to find the command to change that setting, it is literally how that file structure is set up. So in this particular case, I type in SM2 for now. I want to do a set, right? Because I'm going to change the settings. And then I want to do healing, right? Because I'm going to do healing. And I got to think. I think then it's like, and then it's like enable cure. Right, and you can't tell that from looking at this, but I can show you in the actual XML file that I'll pull that up real quick. And I think this is odd, or no, it's true, right? Because it's a boolean. So see if, look at that. So there's those are my parameters. So now if I want to turn it off, I should be able to go. So false, right? So it's all movement, right? Let's turn tether on. So now I'm no longer under healing. I'm under tether, and I'm going to go for the I think it's just enable, and then I'll turn this one to on. No, true. Tether. I did not get that one right. Enable set. Oh, it's movement. Duh. Okay, yeah, I gotta do the group, right? Movement. So I'm under movement. I want to set tether. So didn't guess right. It's been too long since I looked at. Let me take a look if I can find up the actual XML file. Oh, something didn't it like. What didn't it like? Oh, okay. Couldn't unable to find setting group tether. Oh, I think that was before I changed it. So set movement tether. Enable. Oh, you know what? I think this might be this instead. Enable tether. Oh, there you go. I would have found it if I looked at the actual config file, which I gotta find one to open so I don't have to hunt. It's kind of a long folder. Let's see here. See if I can pull open. So let's just look at a rando. All right. So you're like, how the hell am I going to memorize all that? You don't need to memorize it. Let's see here. All right. So, so you can see I wanted to turn. Let me get the settings over here. So I wanted to turn tether on. There's an enabled tether right here, right? It's under movement. So basically, you can look at this file and this name. I mean, I'm just going to shoot this a shot. Like I said, I never did these, but it's. I mean, in theory. So this particular case, this was Yavanna's setting. So, but the Cure 6 power is 110. So let me see if. Oh, it went away. So if I do set healing. Cure Yeah, look. This is what I'm going for. I gotta move it to the side because I gotta see what it is. So it's under healing, it's under cure, and then it's cure 6 power, and then I want to put in like 9999. All right, that should work. Yeah, there you go, 99999. So it's just not on off. It's everything. Like it looks and say, oh, that's a string. That should be an integer. That should be a boolean. It does all that conversion. So like you have full control of every setting from in game. That is something that you'll be able to do in Sil 2. Because why not, right? Because like I said, a lot of times you might want to just make a simple macro, right? And that way you don't have to swap profiles quite as much. So, yeah. Anyway, that's settings. So let me move along. Yeah, I mean, again, everything will be also multiple. I don't want to have it too complicated, but like for things like present saying like warps and stuff, yes, all that stuff should be readily available. I'll make it more secure, blah blah blah. Like the first cut, it's just like doing it. Now it's like I learned a lot more, lessons and feedback, and I can make it so much better now. Like always doing something the second time is always better than your first time, right? So that is kind of the premise of Sil 2. All right, so let me go back to SM2, tether all on, and we'll, make sure I didn't screw up my white mage's profile because I want to show you what I have cooking for my white mage. Just these two, just to make it easier. Turn all these other people off. Catch up chat here for a second. Not needing to use mouse. You need tool to test. Do you need Drake Spain, can you expand upon to test vulnerability? Warp out and do an ambuscade. So again, I have all healing off, only a white mage, and I'm going to run this ambuscade. I'm going to try to force and basically kill my white mage. I create software to parse code and display vulnerability secrets. Mythos. The nice thing about Sil, I guess, I don't know, nice, whatever. 2 is it doesn't use UDP anymore. I think I talked about this way back. It's actually just a TCP, and like when I get going, like it's kind of hard to show, but like now I don't. The UIs and everything are very responsive because of how I've now made it actually threaded. A little bit more work on the back end. When it comes to security, though, I mean, if you look at what's actually, so where's this security kind of end up happening? It's basically between the game and the EXE, right? The EXE doesn't really have access to a whole ton of additional stuff. The only thing it has access to is basically, I guess I can show that quick here too. Let me think. All right, so let's look at the key side of the house. Get out of here. All right, so basically you can set up your Patreon email to like whatever. I was using that as a test one. But what you can do then is just enable it. I don't want it to enable because I have a local key, I guess you could kind of say. But what this will do is it actually goes out to the Patreon and it authenticates the key. So you still build your keys on the the website, so there's no differences there. The only difference is that you won't have to make new keys every month, because what this will do is it requests all that stuff for you. The server says, oh, okay, you're good with this key. You got, 10 days left. It's going to kick you out that same key. Basically, one of the things, this is the only thing that actually leaves, I guess you could say, and this has its own, tokens and all that other la-di-da-di bullshit. But that's one nice thing about this is I do still have the paste, and then the configure key will launch the browser, and obviously the Discord link. But basically, when you give it a good email address, this will stay latched on, and then this will move to like an infinity symbol, right? So there won't be a day. Like here, the error came up. It said, username not found in Patreon records, right? It's because I put some bullshit in. But anyway, all right, let me catch up some chats here. Where there is a piece on every. Oh, okay. Let me go ahead and reset that. I don't like things yelling at me. All right. Let me turn my toggle off here. All right. So I got my. This is what I wanted to show you guys. I got my one cure, white mage rolling. It's a little bit weird because like Sil 2 is still doing like, remedies and buffing and shit, but oh dang it. But I'm watching the white mage to see if she's making the right decisions the right time. That's what I'm looking for, because there's a fair amount of logic, and I can't say I literally just tossed together the Kiraga logic in like 30 minutes and 45 minutes here, this couple hours ahead. Can those error logs be displayed in-game? Oh, what do you mean by that? I mean, I could, but then again, it would kind of only be annoying. All right, let me try to use as much. Whoops. Oh, that's why it wouldn't turn on, because I said to turn off. All right, so, all right, got the tether. So I'm going to leave this up here so you can see the white mage. I'll tab over there. And let me just turn on, let's see. I think I have the profiles loaded yet. Yeah. So they're going to do some buffing. I'm going to do an ambuscade. And we're going to watch to see how well or not well the white mage does her job. So, displays. I won't be using any of the in-game displays. So, this you have a Lua display. I won't do that for Sil 2. And the reason is it's kind of like... I look at it more like a kind of Final Fantasy maybe 14 type of stuff. So what I'll do instead is have the application do overlays. So there'll be, it is actually, believe it or not, a little bit more taxing than I like. Again, the efficiency between 1 and 2 is night and day for the game, right? The game, it's drastically, like, literally, because all Sil 2 is you get a packet, you send it up to DXE. It doesn't parse the action packets. It doesn't do anything with the packet. It's just a string, just boom. Because of that, you don't have to bit unpack and all this other, like, that's why some gear swaps are worse than freaking Sil, because they're like parsing action packets like all over the time. Everything, again, AoE, shit slows down, blah, blah, blah. It literally is like, because of that, All it is snapshots. Okay, so Sil 2 is running twice the speed of Sil 1, and it's less intensive than Sil 1 is. And even Sil 1 was pretty light, I would say. Like, I don't think a lot of people had, quote, performance issues running 6, 12, whatever characters. And so Sil 2 is even lighter under the hood, and that's because it does all the computation off of the game render frame, right? Like a Lua, everything in a Lua has to finish before the next render frame because of how they're not, like, it's not multi-threaded, period. Like, you can't multi-thread in Lua with this stuff. So the more time, even a simple table lookup, everything you do takes time away from your actual render. And so that whole idea was take all that work, offload it into the exe, which is what I've done. And if you want to do something, I send one packet down that says, you know, either an action packet or move or whatever. So it's only information up, no processing of information. I mean, you know, you'll get the typical get player. And then everyone's like, well, why don't you just read the memory directly, right? You know, you can do that. Like, yeah, I can do that. But I can't do that when someone's PC is halfway across the world. With here, all they have to be doing is loading the add-on, and I can get the same resolution, same data as if it was on the same machine, right? So, or if you run two PCs, how is this PC supposed to read the memory of another PC? You can't do that. So that's why, after thinking, I say, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it simple, stupid, right? The add-on, all it does is the whole simple get party, get player on the Windows side, you know, and then Ashida's got the memory manager and all that stuff. And then it formats it to a common model, right? And then sends it up to the exe. So the idea is this level of tether and stuff, it doesn't matter where the actual Lua and the exe is running. All you have to do is point it to the right TCP address, right? And the right port, of course. But anyway, I kind of went on a tangent here. I'm not sure exactly why, but basically, it's very efficient. So Sil 2 is going to be very, very efficient. In fact, the amount of load on the game right now is pretty much what you're going to see from start to finish, because I have all the information. If I look at the information in here, I mean, I have like everything already in there. I don't need anything more, you know, than what I have. Like, here's your entire inventory, right? You know, for all the players. You know, I got treasure pools, I got party buffs. I mean, like, everything. I'm parsing all the packets outside of the game. And this is, some of these are pretty heavy intense, right? This is just equipment, right? But like, because I'm able to do all that computation outside the game, Sil 2 is going to be like, it's going to be butter. I'll tell you that. I'll just take my word for that. All right. So anyway, oops. Let me go and see how my curing logic works out. So don't freak out, guys. I want as many ads as possible. So let me go over to my white mage, because remember, my white mage only, so that's still one, but she's only going to do a cure. Come on, where's my ads at? I want to stress test this. So she casts cure. So I'm going to watch her, what she's doing. I'm going to watch the hit point. Oh, let me turn them all on so I can see. Whoops. So obviously she's got a cure. Nope, now she's got to do a cure next. Is she going to do it? There's a 3. It's not a bad one. Maybe could have used a 4 there. She's got to cure her ass, though. She did a 5. That's reasonable. Okay, so I got a few ads out here. Not as much as I want. So there's a cure 3. Okay. I got 20% over cure as a default right now. Alright, well, like I said, she's the only one curing. It seemed to make decent choices at the right times. Like I said, she's also fighting Sil 1, right? So Sil 1 is asking for like a a stone skin or a bar thunder or something like that. But yeah, I think it went okay there. All right, let me catch up with some of the chats. The question of when Sil 2. I'm hoping. So the first step until 2 is to get I'll call it like everything that's all the free features. So a lot of that's you're obviously finished up the curing, enhancing magic. Job abilities are slog. They should be a little bit easier, but a lot of all that stuff I plan to have, wrapped up. And I would like to do about every 2 weeks a feature. Like I want to say, I'll probably poke around curing maybe another week or two. Then I'll start enhancing magic, and it's going to be a slow methodical progress forward. Like all the stuff you looked at, like I showed you, like setting stuff from in-game to the actual EXE, loading profiles, saving profiles, getting the data. That is a lot of work. Like adding enhancing magic is like, okay, the UI sucks. It might take me a couple days to do the UI, but I have all the backhaul, like even the logic, speed. And so it'll go quicker and quicker and quicker because I've got a lot of this stuff already done on what it can do. Like I said, the curing is a big one, right? Because it proves, the action packet, the start delay, the time, the action delay. You got to send it down, and then you got to get the outgoing action packet. Then you got to get the packet coming back, and then you got to put the delay on, but then you got to also account for the lost packet drop. So like there's all this type of crap that happens behind the scenes, and that engine is what's now complete. I did that like last week, I think. And the curing, the UI, all that stuff. So I hope to do about a feature every 2 weeks is what I'm shooting for. So honestly, a lot of I'll call it like the basic. And what I wanted, and the reason I want to do this too, is I want to get more people out to just break shit, right? I want the sheeted people to break shit. I want the windower guys to go out and be like, oh, this doesn't work, or hey, this isn't quite right. And then I can start, because it's never going to replace Sil 1. Probably until the actual, I don't know, realistically, the fall is when it's going to actually start legitimately now surpassing Sil 1. I want to say the summer is what I'm shooting for, basically the full non-keyed Sil 2. So, So I've been tatting for a while. Like I said, I ran one or two ambuscades with it. I just ran that one. I actually think it did pretty close to what I was hoping for. Maybe my cure thresholds. I just clicked the button on it. I didn't really actually try to like go too hardcore on it. So like for instance, maybe next time I go like, oh, I think she undercured a little bit more. I can either A, increase my overcure, or B, say like my white mage honestly isn't that great, so she probably doesn't have that much stuff. So it's like, I can always decrease and tweak that if I feel like she was just kind of under. But the idea was like, it's pretty good. And then, like, oh, you're not gonna, you shouldn't, be too far off that you're gonna die. And then you can kind of play. And then once you've got these dialed in, right? Then you could, just paste it over and say, oh, there you go. That's literally how quick a lot of this stuff is. Before I leave, there is one thing I really put a lot of thought into, and I haven't completely done it yet, but what I'm looking to do is just like the roles, I had shown the roles and the targeting. I want to do the same thing for profiles and profile loading, right? So there, let me see if I pull open a settings folder. Okay, so there's a bunch of other stuff in here that you guys don't really normally see because it's the debugger and shit. But basically, you have like the navigation folder, which has all the nav meshes in it. right? Like I said, you can grab that. That's in the Sil 2 area. And then the settings. And under the settings, I'm going to look to do like a template, right? So I want Sil 2 will come with templates pre-built, and it'll be like just what I'm thinking out loud here. And I thought about this, but like, you know, I'd have a white mage folder. You know, let's just make a bard folder, and then those all would be under a template folder. And so, say for instance, you've never used Sil before in your life. You load it for the first time. You know, it knows this is a white mage. So, just like the settings, like these on Sil 1 will automatically load because they're in the base directory, right? In Sil 2, I'll probably have it try to, first off, load the base directory, right? So in this particular case, there's an exact match. I got the white mage, I got the scholar, I got the name. Like, this is the one that I want to default, and it'll probably be called I don't know, like default maybe or something, whatever. So what it would do is look to the default folder when you launch it up. So I didn't find a setting for my white mage. So what is it going to do instead? It'll fall back and go say, oh, let's go look at the template. Okay, I know that person's a white mage. Let's go to the white mage. And then all of a sudden here, let's see here, let me go back up. So I'm going to go grab this one, just example, template, go to white mage. And then I'm going to put, that's not what I want to do. What the fuck? So in this case, I'm going to have one as a red mage. Oh, what the hell did I do there? Come on. All right. So the template folder would look something like this. And then actually there's one more that I'll add in just to explain. Okay. So the thought process, and this is where I'm more of soliciting your guys' feedback. This is my thought process. I load up Silmeril. It's going to look at the default because these are what you're defaulted to load. If I don't find this exact file, if it finds this file, you're done, right? This is, you manually made this file. This is your file that you made. It loads. But say, for instance, you got a brand new dragoon that you want to master level that you've never even touched, right? Brand new tune. Well, of course, it's not going to have a profile because you didn't make one. Then it's going to go to your template. And then it's going to say, oh, well, in this case, I'm going to say a white mage because that's what I did. And it'll say, oh, this is a new white mage. Let's go in here. Oh, your sub job on a scholar. Use this one. Your sub job on a red mage. You are sub job warrior. These do not fit. So then you pull open this one, right? Because there are some sub job specific things that, you know, like sublimation or refresh or blah, 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 whatever, that you can, these will be templated stuff. But then it's always a fallback. So it'll fall back 3 different times, right? So, like I said, then this white mage is generic. You know, it'll have your healing, your curing, blah, blah, blah. It'll get you started. So that way, literally, if you're at a Moogle, and everyone will always have a profile. You will not be able to not have a profile automatically. You can certainly clear or reset things, but the idea is like, why start from 0? Like, generally speaking, our reg made is going to do a red made thing. Why wouldn't you have it cast haste 2 or whatever, you know? So that's kind of the premise of what I'm thinking through, to use what I call like a template, right? And from there, you can load this and just tweak it, of course. Like, oh, this isn't the right template, but at least it gives you something to start with, especially with priority orders and enhancing and debuffing and blah, blah, blah. So, all right, a lot of talking. That's what's on my mind, what I've got cooking on Sil 2. Right, red mage should do red mage things. Yeah, so I know there's been a lot of asks about that, like, you know, especially enhancing, like, do the roll stuff. Roll is tricky, right? So roll's easy when you have your own instance, but you don't know a party member's job and sub job easily. the server's got to send you a party packet, and it only does that under certain occasions. I'd love to be able to just be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that guy is. So that's why I put the caveat. It will work to a limited extent. I'm trying to. I'll continue working on that later, but right now, I'm just putting the caveat that the role-based stuff will only work for local type instances, because I know obviously what your job and sub-jobs are. But the idea is, say for instance, I make the most amazing Odyssey profile for like Nagai, right? And then you're like, oh, let's send it over to my friend, and it's like, oh my god, all the names and everything's all different, and it's like, you don't have to worry about that, because hopefully, if you're really kind of clever about it, you can set everything up based off of generic or role-based stuff, right? That's what I want to be able to get to, is so that you're not tied to a specific character name. You know, that's where that curing of the paladin comes in, or oh, they were rune fencer higher, and then enhancing magic will be very specific to that too. Yeah, and of course you can always lock the profiles. Probably the templates though will come from those templates will probably be automatically generated. I'll probably end up just storing them inside of Sil. I load all 6 profiles in Visual Studio Code and do replace all. Yep, right, sure. That is how you do it now. But why do you need to, right? Especially with things like following distances, and then it's like, well, yeah, no, I certainly kind of do that, especially if you have like witness protection or something, right? And then now all your names are not the different. Like, you turn witness protection off, and you're no longer the names at Sil and what you're seeing here, which means now you have to have 2 profiles if you don't want to have witness protection on. Honestly, I run it 24/7. I never have it off. I don't. Honestly, I have to take a hot minute to remember what my character names are, because I almost never see them anymore. But yep, think of a lot about UI. So the idea is like, all this type of stuff. These are all this windows. So if you have multi monitors, it'd be really nice, because now I can just move that off the screen. You can't see it, but like, I can have this at the top of the screen and monitor it the full time right above my window. If I want to have this, that fast follow window or whatever you want to call it, like normally this is here, like that's taking real estate of my game. I don't want that on my game. You don't have to put it. You can if you're a sadist, but like, you can move this up to the top right of your corner, and now I can have this thing going, and because everybody's talking about, oh, can you make it red when they're beyond X many yalms and blah blah blah. Oh, I want it bigger, and I want to move it. Well, all that stuff can be done because I'll just do an overlay, right, on a window. Or so think of it as like this, okay? Except for now, there's no background. I can set the location that won't have a border, and again, you'll just move it and you lock it. So every time it will remember this last location. You don't have to take up game real estate for automation thing, especially if you're streamers, right? For those who want to stream, you're like, well, I have all this shit, but I want to go in stealth mode. I don't really need to see all this bot and automation type stuff. So you don't have to. And if you have multiple windows, you can actually focus on the game, right? All right, so I'm really interested in the ability to change settings on the fly. Yeah, that's exactly like I said. Everything can change on the settings, so it's pretty cool. And oh yeah, so like I have to remember. So I actually had this. Why is that coming over? Interesting. Let me bring over a setting profile. Okay, so one of the things. Let's go find a distance, right? Because I think it's min distance what I called it. So I want to look at movement, not targeting. Oh, Jesus Christ, it's up here. Okay. So let's talk about tether. So right here I have min-max distance. So now, just one last thing before I shut her down. So I'm on Yavanna. And you can send settings to another player too. I think it's a little bit more complicated. But it does allow you to, like, from Yavanna, you can send, like, for instance, Turin settings. I think I have that all done. I'd have to look. It's not something I haven't done this whole ton. All right. Problem because I can't pin this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to change the max distance from 1 to 4. Okay, on my tether. So I'm going to do a set. It's under movement, tether, max distance, and I pass it a 4. So I'm going to put that over the sides. Make sure I type that. So SM2 set, and then this is movement. It is case sensitive. I had to do that for one reason. At first it wasn't, but then I got, like, I needed variable names longer. Anyway, it is case sensitive. But again, they are right here, right? So just follow this hierarchy. It's in XML. So now movement, right? Now I gotta go to tether. Okay, now I'm going to do what's called max distance, and let's see if it's the right one. Here it is. I'm going to change this. It should go to, let's just put it as 4. In theory, I'm on Yavanna. That should change it. Okay, so there you go. And here's my parameters. I passed the XZ, movement, tether, max distance 4, and you can see it move there. Or if I want to change it down to 1, there's 1. But yeah, so Sil 2 is pretty cool. Feel free to also just chime in. Like, I have been listening to a lot of the requests. It's just Sil 1 is kind of, it is what it is. It's not scalable as easy. There's a lot more effort and work it would require, especially on the UI side. So Sil 2 backend and stuff is a little bit easier to work with, of course, right? And yeah. So anyway, I don't want to talk all night here, but I want to give you, like I said, this was just an opportunity. See what I'm doing. I'm not resting on my laurels. Trust me, I am cranking code, dude. Like, it's happening. It's going to be amazing. When I get this thing done, I'll be sitting pretty good, and then I can start doing some fun stuff. Like, I never actually did the cool stuff that I wanted to, like, building, I guess what I would typically call, like, more unique add-ons, like very specific things. I gotta get the core done, right? I got the core of Sil 1. I for the most part, I see that does most of what I think a multi-boxer wants, but I think there's a lot left on the table yet, and I need to get Sil 2 back up to Sil 1, and then I'm going to start some other unique type things. There's a shit ton of add-ons. Everybody's got their favorite thing. I'm not looking to recreate wheels all the time. Sometimes I have to, just to, make it packageable. But generally speaking, I want to get to more stuff later. I probably look at that as next year. Hopefully by the end of the year, hopefully I'll have Sil 2 fully up to speed and completely replace the Sil 1. Things will start heating up mid-summer probably, and the fall will start, like I said, hopefully taking over, starting to get some of all these features. So, all right, let me catch up chat real quick. Yeah, right. Just I'll create my own LLM, and it's just freaking AI will take you off from there. Yeah. So last chance. Questions, comments, requests. Why I kind of gave you the old demo tour. Any chance triggers have an advanced setting too? If Rune uses Embolden and doesn't have Phalanx, but then cast Phalanx 2? I don't know. But again, with the philosophy of how I'm doing Sil 2, there will always be the advance because I really want to strip it down to the basics. Triggers, I think, Triggers ended up doing pretty well, but there are some gaps in it, and I already kind of solved some of those gaps in Sil 2. So obviously the most common one is, the game messages, or, enemy die, like there's a lot of in-game messages and stuff. So that's kind of what the debugger, I would say debugger. Let's see here. What did I call it? I think it's, did I even put it here? Oh, so long ago. Oh, yeah, logs. So, oh my god, yeah. So, the EXE is a freaking hog. Why? Because right now I have shit cranked up, so lots of memory storage. Literally, so that battle that we ran a few times, this is parsing all the action packets, and it uses the ghetto window and resource to do it. There was a couple errors in it, but basically, like, you can kind of see, like, I parsed through all this stuff. So if you want to go back and, you got some pretty decent timestamps in here that you can actually see what happened. There's no filtering bullshit or anything like that. This is like the full-on, all the action pack parsing. That's why I said you take all this stuff is offloaded from the game. It's put into the EXE and it does all that. So that's just one example of the battle messages. You'll have, system, which I'll have to get a system message, but like each one of these should be all filled out. Looks like I need to increase the size. I guess it's logging all my commands here, right? So that way I know what's kind of going on. But that's essentially what the add-on is sending to the EXE, is literally this message, set, comma, healing, whatever. That string, that command string, is what's doing. So it's not like it's super crazy sensitive shit or anything. It's just literally okay. That's how the commands work between the game and the the EXE, the Lua. But yeah, so all that stuff on the triggers and stuff, once I finish parsing all the incoming packets, which I have not done yet, I've only probably done maybe 10% or 20% of the incoming packets. Outgoing packets, I'm almost done, but it's all a time thing. So I started moving off a packet library and started doing other things. And then when I go and I need something, I'll parse that packet when I need it. But all the packet engine's all good. I got that all done, and so it's pretty decent. Like I said, if you ever filter out, so like for instance, you want to sort it out, you can see what's coming. Like these obviously are not been parsed yet, the incoming 27s. But anyway, let's see. Last check for questions. Ammo. Yeah. I mean, all that stuff. So ammo and shit was always a pain in the butt. But like I already have all that stuff in the game, right? So if you go to items, I can see, oh yeah, here's your safe. The big difference too, since I parse all the DAT files, that's again why the main EXE is so big. Like we're talking, this can almost take almost a gig of RAM, like, because it has all the item information loaded already into it, right? So it doesn't need to parse items. I literally send the one item ID, and that's all I need to send, and then a quantity, of course, I guess. But so to use items and stuff, it's a little bit easier. I know what's going on all the time on all the players. It's pretty nice. Sometimes I just come in here myself to say, oh, do I have inventory space? I can look here real quick. Oh, 52. Okay, 50. Yeah, okay, cool. What the fuck? Oh yeah, that's the like, who the hell is 20? But yeah, you can quickly see here, like, oh yeah, I got enough inventory. But all this shit, like I said, is all kind of crunched, done. Spells, abilities, you know, it all the hard work, I guess, the boring stuff. Now I can actually start doing things, which should start to liven up a little bit more. But all right, again, I gotta get out of here. Talked a lot. I know you guys are probably just like, oh, well, the guy rambles on. It's true, but I thought there's some good opportunity to let you guys know I am in full development mode. Still 1, you're not going to see a lot of shit. That's to be expected because I'm putting my time on 2, and I think you guys will really like 2 once I get it done. Should be good. Make multi-boxing great again. So, all right. Well, I'll post this up for some people that were not able to tune in tonight. I guess had a couple people that did request that. So aside from that, I'm going to end the stage. You folks have a great and wonderful Saturday evening. So, take care.